game. Blouses.
Galanchuk.
Disaster.
Spaghetti.
Disaster.
Well, I mean, I'm no doctor.
We now join America's most popular show, already in progress. Everybody loves
Mitch and Sean. You guys are the greatest duo.
Fantastic.
That team sure did suck last night. They just plain sucked. I've seen teams suck before, but they were the suckiest bunch of sucks that ever sucked.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Post Game Pints podcast with myself, Mitch Gallo, and Sean Campbell. We're brought to you by La Brosse Brewery. And Sean, I can't partake in the opening beer chug with you. I'm kind of on the clock because the Montreal Canadiens have me doing some different hours out on the West Coast. So while it's very appropriate for you to have a beer with dinner, for me, not so much. I'm going to have to save it for 3 o'clock this morning when I get home. My hours are all out of whack this week.
Hey, that's no problem. Been there, done that. I understand it. You'll have it at 3 a.m. You'll open up your La Brosse. You'll enjoy yourself because you should go by and check it out. Get your Campbell Gallo. Yes, that's right. Campbell Gallo. It is beautiful. A coffee IPA. It just, that perfect hint of coffee. It's not overpowering. It's the right amount. It's a nice drinkable IPA. The reviews are through the roof. Let us know how you like it. Go buy La Brosse 133 La Brosse in Point Claire. Tweet at us, Sean R. Campbell, Mitch White Gallo. The moment you're having, take a picture. I'll take a picture of me drinking it too because I got some now. Because I went by and I saw the crew. It was great to go by. So go get yours at La Brosse. But Mitch, we got lots to get to. I know we've been doing the 5-minute post-game shows. This is going to be a little bit longer format, but it'll give us a little bit more time to dive into some of the issues the Canadiens are having right now as they're starting a road trip and they only have one win on the season.
Yeah, well, at least the win on the season came in their latest game. So you could say that they only have one win going into the road trip. I'll say, Sean, that the Canadiens are on a 1-game winning streak going into the road trip. So, look, they played a very bad Detroit team on Saturday. At least Detroit was bad in that game. Detroit actually followed it up with a Sunday early evening game against Chicago on the road. They would go from Detroit to Chicago and blow out the Blackhawks, who have so many issues from top to bottom of the organization. But as of the standings right now, the worst team in the league, even worse than Montreal. But I thought there was a lot in that Detroit game to like from Montreal. Most notably, the fact that they were able to score and score often. That's been their Achilles heel, which is weird because going into the season, you and I both looked at the amount of people who could put the puck in the net on the roster and thought that it would be the least of their concerns. But at least, Sean, they broke out offensively, and that's got to feel really good going into the road trip, starting with the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, and they broke out with, if you were to give me a list of players that were going to score a hat trick for the Canadiens, that list probably would have included a Josh Anderson, a Cole Caulfield, a Tyler Toffoli, a Nick Suzuki, a Mike Hoffman, a Brendan Gallagher. I can go on and on, a Christian Dvorak, before you reach the name of Matthew Perreault. Matthew Perreault is still an intriguing player to me on the Canadiens. And you can see he has an offensive touch. He's very good around the net. Sure, he got an empty netter. Sure, one banked off the defenseman. But they all count. And you do it because of where you are and what you're doing. And I don't know where he fits in on this team. I know, look, here on the Post Game Pints podcast, Mitch, you and I both had him as the third line center. Before the whole training camp disaster.
People made fun of me.
Oh, no, and same here. We had the same thing. We actually, if you go back just a couple episodes ago, our rosters are right up there. I know Dave still has those shots of who we had as the third line centers of the Canadiens. We both had Matthew Perreault because I just found that the team looks better with him in that roster spot. more so than Cedric Paquette, more so than Jake Evans, more so than Ryan Poehling. It's an established NHL player that knows how to produce. Is he a centerman now? No. But when push comes to shove, it's just kind of where the Canadians were. And the pushing and shoving started early for the Canadians for their struggles. Now, is it instant chemistry with Toffoli and Caulfield? Well, we'll wait and see on that. But at least this is where they're going. And to me, I have no problem with the 9 forwards that they have. Now, maybe we need someone to play with somebody else, but the 9 forwards they have in their top 9, I have no problem that those are the 9.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's not ideal for Mathieu Perreault being in that spot, but looking at their roster, this is the way it has to be. Because of experience, he's more suitable to play in that role than Jake Evans, who struggled when he played there, or Adam Brooks, who is still trying to find even his way as an everyday NHL player. So I'm with you with Perreault getting that hat trick on Saturday. One of the feel-good moments in the last couple of years for the Canadians, really, and the biggest one so far this season. One was an empty net. The other one, the first goal, though, that was a heck of a snipe coming down on the left wing and letting it rip past Thomas Grice's blocker. But I like the way he played in that game. And, he spoke about it, Sean, that he thinks he'll get more comfortable over time playing that position that he hasn't played in a few years and learning the system and trying to develop some chemistry with Tyler Toffoli and Cole Caulfield. Now, you also look at it, Toffoli scores in the game against Carolina. Hoffman scores a game against Detroit. Now it's on Cole Caulfield, I think. He is the guy you circle. He's getting scoring chances, but there was big expectations on him for his official rookie season. If I'm to circle somebody on this trip, he's the guy that needs to break out.
Oh, I'm circling someone else. It's Nick Suzuki. I'm circling Nick Suzuki. Look, I know you want the goals from Cole Caulfield, but you have goal scorers elsewhere. They don't have number one centers elsewhere. For me, it has to be Nick Suzuki. Nick Suzuki can't go any more games without picking up points. Can't go any more games struggling the way that he's been struggling. And I don't care who his wingers are. If it's Hoffman, Gallagher, Caulfield, Toffoli, Drouin, Anderson, Nick Suzuki's Nick Suzuki. To me, he's the one. If Caulfield comes back with no goals, I'm less concerned. If Suzuki, I'm more concerned if Suzuki comes back with no points or 1 point in those 4 games. These 4 games on the road trip are all about Nick Suzuki for me. I think he needs to start establishing himself as a premier centerman. He has to do it if the Canadians are going to have any success. It's maybe way too much to ask for him at this stage of his career, but I'm ready to ask him. I think he's that good. I really do. It was a bad start. We'll see how he can get away from the city and maybe come back on fire, because I haven't seen what I normally see from Nick Suzuki. It's about time to see it.
Yeah, well, I can't argue with Suzuki. He's in a very important role for the team, and he's also learning his way without having the security blanket that was Philip Danault for him last season. And now he's the guy, and he has to do the heavy lifting, and he's got to take shifts against the other team's top players. Other teams are going to game plan for him. They know more what he wants to do than maybe they knew in the past. Like, Sean, even small things like the power play. Remember on the right side when he do that little move to the top of the circle and then let it rip top shelf, goal? Not anymore, because people have seen it. They know that play, so they defend against it. So now he has to come up with new tricks up his sleeve in order to be successful. And look, I bring up Caulfield, you bring up Suzuki. I say we're both right, because going into the season, we told you that the 3 young players were all going to have to take a step for the Canadians to be successful, and the 3 youngsters being Caulfield, Suzuki, and Romanov. And Romanov has bumped up and down the lineup too. But, Sean, I have to say, I liked, and it's one game, and it's against a Detroit team that isn't very good, but I liked the fact that they went with Sherratt and Petrie on the top pairing. I thought that made a lot of sense. And then Romanov playing with Savard. Yeah,
Romanov, Savard makes sense, I think, in everybody's mind. And, if you could try and share the wealth with your lineup and put Kulak or try Romanov and get a couple good games out of them, and then they're going to peter off. But for me, maybe it's about getting Jeff Petrie going. Talk about Suzuki and Caulfield. This road trip is very important for Jeff Petrie. This is a guy that's offensively talented. And if you look at the blue line, he's the only one that's really going to put up some numbers offensively. And he's so important to the power play. He's so important 5-on-5. I was never worried about him in training camp. And the security blanket of Shea Weber's not there. For Jeff Petrie, he's dealt with that before. He knows how to deal with life without Shea Weber. And I just think that it's about time that he starts clicking. And maybe it was about, not giving him Kulak, not giving him Romanov, give him Ben Sherrod. I know Sherrod had a tough start of the season, but maybe for Sherrod it's good and for Petrie it's good. I know it's something that you and I have discussed before, but I thought it was a better idea, and I hope that they run with it until Edmondson comes back.
Yeah, and Sean, that all goes back to Shea Weber no longer being there, right? And how much they need Jeff Petrie because of that. News today, and I don't know how big a news item it is. I did write about it at MontrealHockeyNow.com if you want to check that out. But Jonathan Drouin, not great at keeping secrets. He lets it slip that Shea Weber has, in fact, retired, and now he's hanging out with Marc Bergevin doing some scouting.
Wow, come on. We knew something. And Marc Bergevin said the other day, he's like, I have something up my sleeve for Shea Weber. And you know what? Shea and Jonathan Drouin were probably chilling, watching the football game in Seattle and being like, what are you up to? I don't know. He has me watch these Kelowna games. And I just tell him some guy's good. I don't know. I'm just, I got to get paid. I'm getting my money. I might as well do something. Oh, you're scouting. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm doing. That could have been the conversation,
sure.
Players will joke about the retired life, right? You step away from the game. You're going to go, hey, how's retired life? I'm not retired. I'm just, I'm going to take the year off. We'll see what happens. You're retired. You're done. Okay, I'm done. Like that, how hockey players talk to each other. I'm not saying that he's not officially retired because all indications mean that he's done. But for the Canadians or for Shea Weber, it doesn't make sense for him to give his papers in at all. And there's players that do this all the time. They retire years and years after they're actually done. And it's contract wise, especially if you're finished on an injury, you want to get that insurance money to pay for your contract. And you know what? If he does retire, who's the least happy out of everybody? Nashville, because that would screw Nashville big time. Isn't Vancouver still paying Roberto Luongo at this point?
Yeah, I think it's the final year of them paying Luongo. And if you look at what you're talking about, I mean, it was the case with Marian Hossa when he had the skin ailment. He never filed his retirement papers. And I think if you want to look at a guy who kind of played like Shea Weber, I mean, Shea Weber wasn't as nasty as Chris Pronger, but Chris Pronger's career kind of ended a little bit abruptly with injuries. He got the stick in the eye.
He was working for the NHL and still being paid by Arizona. I think he was with at the time.
And
he was still under contract, but he had
Sean,
a job with the league. Yeah.
Yeah, but even before that, when he first got that injury, he was in the front office with Philadelphia, much like Montreal is doing with Shea Weber. I feel bad though.
Yeah. I'm just saying I'm fine with all this. I don't think it's they're trying to do something sneaky here. The guy can't play. He wants to be part of the organization. That's whatever it is. I don't need labels. I don't need a retirement label in front of me. I don't need this at all. That stuff is so meaningless to me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But it does make me also just think back to the run that the Canadians went to, 3 games away from the Cup final. Game 4 at the Bell Center, he takes the high sticking penalty. He's in the box for 4 minutes, including 3 minutes and 30 seconds or something like that of the overtime. And if that would have been the end of his career, sitting in that penalty box, but instead Josh Anderson scores the game winner, and the Canadians go on for Game 5. And then I think of Game 5, the way they all shook his hand while leaving the ice. That's when I kind of raised an eyebrow and thought to myself, okay, there's a little bit more to it than I think we know. And everybody involved in that probably had a good idea that he was playing through a significant injury and maybe the one that he was not going to be able to come back from. And as somebody who loved watching Peter Forsberg play, it was kind of the same thing. It was that ankle/foot and the tendons and trying to go through surgery. And for Forsberg, it was trying to find skates. And eventually he just said, I can't play to my own expectations and to what I think I should be able to do. And I don't even feel like I can protect myself on the ice when he played that truculent style. So those are just some of the things that went through my mind. Not that I'm like you, I have no issue with however they want to work it out paper-wise and what he's going to be doing. It made me think back to some of the things that we saw from Shea Weber in the past year.
Yeah, you talk about Forsberg. You talk about Bure and his knee and the 9 surgeries and just kind of, ending too early, couldn't compete or be the fast player that he wanted to be. But yeah, I see the relation when it comes to the foot with Forsberg and Shea Weber. And just so you know, Mitch, so when my Thrashers career is over, I'm planning to end it in the penalty box. Just so you know, I'm planning to end that career in the penalty box. I just want you to be aware.
With the way your beer league hockey career has gone, that would be very fitting for you. Sean, do you want to just wrap up with what we expect with the 4-game road trip? So it's 4 games out west from Montreal, Seattle, San Jose, LA, Anaheim. Well, what do you expect?
I think there's 2 tough games in there. Okay, there's 2. Look, it's the LA, Anaheim, and Seattle not off to great starts. LA is scoring a little bit, but San Jose's got off to a good start. They look like the young crew is merging with that older group, and that's going to be a fun to watch, see what they want to do with Thomas Hertl, depending where they are in the standings, because that will be a guy that everybody will want at the trade deadline. I think that's a guy the Canadiens should go after in the summer. I'm not going to say at trade deadline, but in the summer, if he becomes a UFA, he's that kind of player. But I think there's 2 tough games, and I think they really need to come back with 6 points. 6 points. Now, if you do it with a couple overtime losses, I don't know how you're going to do it. I'm just saying, come back with 6 points if you can out of a possible 8. It's going to be the San Jose game and whichever game Montembeault starts on the weekend. I don't know which one. Those are going to be the tough ones. I think it's whatever Montembeault starts and San Jose. Those are the 2 tough games that are going to be on this road trip.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing you're hoping you get at least 3 in the first 2 games, and then that makes your decision for the Montembeault start a little bit easier. I think every game on this road trip is a winnable game. They're not facing any powerhouses. The San Jose game probably tough just because historically the Canadiens can't play at the HP Pavilion. It's an arena that has been disastrous for them. I think the last time they won a game there was in the early 2000s, right? So a struggle.
Team wasn't any good.
What's that?
And that team wasn't any good. The Canadiens in the early 2000s.
Yeah. wasn't a great Montreal Canadiens team. But
Yannick Perreault.
I don't know if it was that era. I think Koivu was part of the win the last time they won in San Jose. But I just think all these teams are beatable. So I think 6 points is bare minimum, and they should even be striving for 7 or 8. I mean, if they, and again, they're still working their way through their problems. We'll see if they get shot out of a cannon against Seattle and look like they feel like world beaters after beating the lowly Red Wings. But I think they are better on paper than each and every team that they're going to be playing against on this trip.
Well, if they go 4-0, that'll make everything kind of just even. And then it's reset when you get home. You're like, okay, that's the first 10 games of the season. Let's play 72 and see what happens. I think that's where the Canadiens will feel like if they're able to do that on the road trip. I mean, that'd be the perfect road trip if they went 4-0. I think those are too high expectations, but they could if Nick Suzuki becomes Nick Suzuki. I think that's all they're waiting for. Because if Nick Suzuki, then Cole Caulfield in the power play, everything's going to start clicking. To me, this road trip is about Nick Suzuki.
Well, we'll see if he can get it done on the road trip, as well as some of the other players who haven't performed up to expectations so far. Sean, that's all the time on the Post Game Pints podcast. I want you to enjoy your Gallo Campbell IPA because I am very jealous that I can't currently have one, but you enjoy it. I'm empty. By the way. I have none left. I have to make my way to LaBrosse.
Yeah. I know. I'm enjoying this from yesterday's game. From yesterday's game. I'm riding the high. This is the best I'm going to play.
Good for you. Don't forget, everybody, to click, listen, subscribe, comment, support us, and we appreciate anybody who took the time to listen to this episode of the podcast.
Well, how's that for your entertainment value?
They've done their job very, very well.
No.
Come on.
VBF.